Adam Cook, how the devil are you? You are here to speak with me, Mike Stubbsy, about the new Tomb Raider of the name that I've already forgotten.
Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's not a very good name, is it? It's not a good name. They should have called it Tomb Raider 2, but you're not allowed to do that now, because if you call a game something 2, then it has to be colon. So it would have been, I mean, they could have been like Tomb Raider 2, colon, Rise of the Tomb Raider. And that would have been even worse, wouldn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, like they should have just called it Tomb Raider 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Now that would have been bloody brilliant.
That would have been Game of the Year material before it even launched.
Would have. He wouldn't even need to play it. But speaking of Game of the Year material, like Tomb Raider the reboot was one of my favourite games the year it came out. Absolutely loved it. I 100%ed it, which I never do with games, especially review games. Like you know what it's like. You do tend to be onto the next one very quickly. With Tomb Raider, I just kept playing it, and I've kept doing that with this because I've finished it and I'm still playing it. You know, trying to 100% it again.
I mean, that sounds interesting, but to me, I'm never ever going to 100% a game. Like that just isn't in my I won't ever do that. So is it worth is 100%ing it is that what makes the game, or is it just...
No. What makes the game is the core mechanics, which are, bar a few new bits and bobs, identical to Tomb Raider. Like, it's still... The thing I loved about Tomb Raider was the core gameplay, like the movement, the traversal, the fact, you can use your... I always thought, I know the comparisons to Uncharted were, I think, fair, although weird, given the way, Tomb Raider came first, and Uncharted kind of did Tomb Raider, and then Tomb Raider then did Uncharted. And this is very much doing Uncharted to Uncharted 2. It's that kind of same game, really, with a new story, but with much better graphics and just kind of refined.
So is this what the first one should have been like, or is it...
Because that suggests the first one wasn't that good, and I think the first one was brilliant. Like I actually think it's really weird, right? Because Rise of the Tomb Raider, I think, is in many ways the better game of the two. But it's also kind of falls down a bit on diminishing returns. Like there's a bit towards the end of the game where if you've played like the first one, and this is not going to be spoilery by the way, but if you played the first one and then you're playing the second one, there's this thing they do where Lara's running along and you press jump and you swing off of a bar and then you land on the top of a shack and then the shack gives way and she falls through to a lower level. You've seen that, I'm sure, right?
Yep.
It does that, and it's like it does that so often, and it's done it in both games that you're like, there's one where she did it, I pressed jump, she jumps, and before she landed, I knew it. I was like, that's gonna crash, and she's gonna fall down to another level, and lo and behold, it did it. And it's very much like that. I mean, the story is not great. The story is still, in fact, the story is the weirdest thing because it kind of copies one of the original Tomb Raider games. I think it was Tomb Raider 2, and whoever's watching this, correct me in the comments. But it's the one where she really sort of almost pathologically she follows in on what her dad did. Her dad's gone, he's been killed, he's dead, whatever, and he's left like a legacy where the Croft name's been tarnished because they all think he's a fraud or an idiot, and she's like, oh no, I must right the wrongs, I must do this, that, and the other, and I'm sure that's Tomb Raider 2, and so it's kind of weird for the reboot to be copying the originals, because it's like, what's the point of that? Then it's a remake, not a reboot. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, but rebooting kind of gives you a fresh slate, doesn't it? So you can kind of
that's
do
what I'm saying.
you want.
So, but what's the point in a fresh slate if you're just going to do it? The same. I mean, the story is identical near enough to the first game. Like, if you've played the first game all the way through, you will guess everything that's going to happen. You will pretty much be able to plot the path before you get there. The one thing they do better is there's less cliched characters. There's no... What was it that guy had on his t-shirt? Was it geek or nerd or something he had written on there? It was real bad. There's none of that. There's none of that stupid stuff. Her gaggle of friends is much smaller. Right at the beginning you meet Jonah, and he's kind of the only one, I think, the only one really that comes back. There's new baddies. It's the twists and turns are kind of obvious. And it's like, before you get to the point... I won't actually say it, but there's a point in the first game where you get to kind of the supernaturally elements, and I don't know, this it's really weird. It's so similar to the first game, but of course it looks glorious, and that gameplay is still brilliant,
Yeah, so when I got to play this at an event, I can't remember where it was, I played a section where it was quite a relatively complex puzzle with water levels and getting up to a high point using different water levels to adjust your position and stuff.
Okay.
Is there a lot of puzzles like that in it, or...?
So the tombs are still optional. okay, which may upset some, but there are a lot more of them. Like if you're exploring, you know, if you're not reviewing it, well, the trouble is I am reviewing it. I was reviewing it, and I still found myself like really slowing the progress of the game because I was exploring every area. Like the first area you get to, there's like 4 or 5 tombs to find. That's just the first area. You know, in the first 5 hours of this game, you will, if you're playing it the way I do, you will have explored more tombs than you did in the entirety of the previous game, which is great. That level you're talking about, I'm surprised they showed you that because, like, it's just, I don't know, it's that's one of the early-ish tombs, but it's actually one of the trickier ones at first because you're still sort of relearning the mechanics, and whereas most games you kind of expect to say press a button and solve puzzle, with the Tomb Raider crypts and that you have to kind of press a button to make thing move and then shoot thing to kind of fully solve the puzzle. Is this the one where you had to move the oil cans around to blow doors out and make the water level rise up?
I don't think there was oil cans.
Okay, it may actually then in that case be the very first tomb in the game you're talking about. Is it quite... yeah, there's a water level you have to raise where you have to climb up onto a pulley and you have to get to the highest point and it pulls the switch down which pushes the water through and then you fly through it.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. And then you get to the next bit, climb
one.
up to like a big ass thing and there's like a coffin-y thing.
Yeah, that's the first. I think that's the first tomb in the game. That one. Yeah, that makes more sense. In fact, it's good that you've mentioned tombs because, as I say, there are a lot more of them, and I really love them. They're really good. You know, you'll get to an area and hear a little jingle jangle noise that lets you know a tomb's nearby, and you kind of can't resist it. You've got to at least find it so you can have it marked on the map as the entrance. You know, I can go back there. There are a couple of new skills, like you can throw your picks now, so you unlock that and you can throw it to get, you know, like a grapple hook basically. And you can also shoot bows into soft wood to make little steps, which you can also, later on if you unlock the skill, press Y when you jump to push a arrow in to, again, only on soft wood. So there are new things, and you can do side quests as well, like some of the allies. You can go up to them, they'll be like, oh, there's drones flying over our valley, can you shoot them down? Yes, you can, you'll get a reward, you know, whatever. Stuff like that, or, you know, can you go and hunt 5 deers, or can bring us the skins, can you find some wood, can you know, all that, you know, pretty menial tasks, but they add a little bit of flavour to the game. It's really weird. It's a really, really good game, and as I say, in many ways I think it is better than the reboot, but it also suffers from diminishing returns. It's got a new mode called Expedition, which is here instead of the multiplayer, which is completely gone, thank God, because it was dreadful. Expedition mode lets you replay sections from the main game in like Score Attack, which is basically Resident Evil Mercenaries, which is really cool. You know, you going around, you're collecting little orbs that give you points. You chain kills to keep your multiplayer going. You shoot lanterns to keep them going. There's all these things to keep your multiplayer going. And you can also replay levels just as a normal replay of the level. You can replay it with your New Game Plus style, you know, all your skills. You can actually create your own levels based on the maps, you know, that are in the game and create objectives and stuff. But this is where the microtransactions come in, because in similar to Halo, you can get packs of cards like FIFA Ultimate Team or something. You can buy a pack and it has cards in it that are modifiers like big head mode, or, you know, fully upgraded bow, or start with no health, or whatever, you know, stuff like that. And I'm not 100% sure at this point, but from my calculations, although you get credits by playing the game, I mean, I was 3/4 of the way through before I could afford a premium pack, like a gold pack. And so obviously you can buy them with real money. So I think it's difficult because it's not a mode you're going to it's not going to be your go-to mode. It's like Resident Evil Mercenaries. It's something that's really cool and you can play now and again. But the microtransactions thing, it's like, I don't know, I don't want to use this as a platform, but like, stop doing it in AAA games like this. It doesn't need to, you know?
But will you miss out if you don't pay money?
It will if you can't unlock packs, because unlocking these packs adds so many different modifiers that the idea here is that you can create your own little version of a level for your friend to play and compete against them on leaderboards. But if you run out of cards because you've used them all up, then you can't, like, right, I'm going to score attack the Soviet base level and I'm going to have like a superpowered shotgun, but I'm also going to get a higher score, so I'm going to put in, actually no, I'm going to start with no weapons, or one gun and no ammo. I'm going to start with no ammo, you know. If you can't use them because you haven't got them, that does affect you. Again, that's an additional mode, that's Expeditions, that's nothing to do with the main game, but it is there, you know, you have to critique it. The main story campaign is great, 15 odd hours, 20 I'd say if you want 100% it, maybe more. The exposition is there for after that. It's cool. That's the thing. That's the annoying thing. I really like the expeditions mode. It's really good fun to score attack these things because, you know, you're playing a story game. You sort of slowly go through the story. You're not rushing it. Score attack's the opposite of that. Like, you know the lay of this land. Now just thrash it. Go on, beat your friends. I don't know. I really like this game. I think it's definitely a Game of the Year contender. I don't think it would win anything, but it is brilliant.
So is this something that we should go out and buy right now, or is this something we should wait until it hits like 10 quid in a year's time?
If you like the first one, then this is absolutely essential. Even though it is very much more of the same, you could say the same about Uncharted, and those games are brilliant. So like it's in great company. You know, they are analogous to one another in the way they've gone. It's brilliant. No, it's genuinely brilliant. Go buy it. It's great.
So your review is now on the site, I believe. So you should go check that out over on godisageek.com. You could also follow Adam on Twitter at JebusF. I'm at Mike Stubbsy, and the site is at godisageek. We're also on like Facebook and Twitch and YouTube /godisageek, where you're probably watching this, and loads of other places that you can follow us. And if you like what we do, you can give us some money on Patreon, which I believe is patreon.com/godisageek. So thank you very much for your time, Adam, and we will speak to you all again soon. Bye.